Basi Legani, Tafshin Yud Aleph, the Rebbe's first mimer, when you officially, they like to say it, officially accepted the shiur. So we're holding in Os Aleph, and we are learning now the biur a little bit. I don't know even if it's finished. The Os Aleph, you're struggling with it. Let's talk. We're trying to understand what the three madregas that the Rebbe Rashab says. 3 levels in Lifnetzim. In Eir, that Lifnetzim, there's 3 levels. Etzem Eir, the essence of the light. We're not talking about Atzma, we're talking about Etzem Eir. Then the Spashtus Eir, the revelation of the light. The revelation of the light is 2 madregas. The Gilo Eir La'atzme, revelation from himself. And Gilo Eir La'atzme, Shaykh Le'elamas. So here we learned, gave a mashal in Seichel. When a person is thinking, giving only on that 2 levels, he's thinking the Seichel to himself, so it's only a revelation to himself. Or when he's talking to himself, he's thinking to himself and talking to himself, so he's still to himself, but still somebody could hear it already, so somebody could have the shaykhus to somebody else. And what is the Etzem Oer in Seichel? I would say the Kech HaMaskil, the power, the potential of intellect. The power that a person could intellectualize, that probably will be the mashal. Okay, so what we said yesterday, as I wasn't so happy with his mashal, it's not, I would say, what would it say that way, that you have to explain the mashal. It's not just here I'm thinking to myself, here I'm talking to myself, but it's the same idea. No. When you're talking about thinking to yourself, it means in the maximum highest level of a top intellectual, that the only thing he could think of, you ask him to speak about it, to say, I can't talk about it. So sometimes somebody says, I can't explain it because he doesn't clear the idea. It doesn't have a deep idea that he doesn't explain. He doesn't have the ability to explain it, doesn't understand the idea, can't explain it. He has a shtikla, makiv dike, a little bit knowing about it, doesn't know enough, they say, I can't talk about it. By an experience of, same by an experience of an emotional idea, let's say music or an emotional, and they say it's beyond words. But I'm saying again, not beyond words because you are not don't have a good language, you don't have a good vocabulary. Talking about this beyond words, the experience is something that is too refined to express it. That is in machshava. In machshava is made because machshava is a more refined Keli, right? Thinking is what, and therefore you don't hear me thinking. Not because Rabbi decided, if I think, you cannot hear it. No, it's a more refined idea, therefore it remains in me. But speaking, right, you could record it already, as we're doing now. It's a more physical already. It's the Keli is a lower Keli, is a more limited Keli. And therefore the air, the light, the logic that's in the Keli is already a lower level of air. So that's first of all you explain that we're talking that they're different between. So the Gilo Eir La'atzme means it's only possible being a revelation to himself. Not only is practically it's only for himself. That's the maximum potential of the idea that it has. As it's so refined, it could feel it only to himself. So when he's speaking already, it means already that he has already an ability, it's already came down lower, but he's still talking about it, not he's speaking to somebody else to explain it much clearer. He's talking to himself. Now I want to take it in different words. And so you know what, let's first finish this biur. We are in the middle of biur ches. Then I'll try to explain it in my words, and then we'll see. I hope they'll complement each other. They'll get a better understanding. Similar to that, you have these 2 inyanim, Eir Shelifnei Hatzimtzum, is the 2 lower levels. Yesh es Etzem Oer, or you give the Etzem Oer al derech Kech HaSeichel. The Etzem Oer is the power of Seichel. But there's no Seichel, it's nothing revealed, no revealed Seichel. It's a Kech HaSeichel, so the Seichel is there in an Etzem Dike way, but not a revealed Seichel that you could see. Nothing what you think about it. Not because there's nothing there. There's nothing there in a revealed way, but there is a Kech HaSeichel. Then there is the revelation. Revelation means that the Seichel is coming in already. And the revelation but he was talking about the Nimshla in Tzimtzum. The revelation is into a kveishu mispashet beivna shaykh la'atzma bilvad, as is revealed the way it's shaykhes applicable only to himself. Again, al derech machshavim. So we're talking about. I'm just adding. Could he also meant it to say? I also hope so. That it's applicable only to himself because it's in such a fine level that only he himself was more considered. And that comes ultimately the revelation. In the Acharatzim, how does it manifest itself? The idea of Moke'er HaSever, that means it's bligvul in a way. It's bligvul relate in a relationship of Ishtalshus. Here we are talking about an absolute infinite. You understand what I'm saying? Sever means a bligvul is infinite in relationship, in the terminology of Ishtalshus, of Redef Elemes. It's in our world, it's a real bligvul. But it's a real bligvul in our terms. But if you go out of our terms, before our terms are created, right? It's not there. The living that's in before the world was created, even before the concept of world was created, before the concept of finite and infinite was created. So the the fact that there is a bligvul that is revealing it, not we're talking about it's pashtus. There is a revelation of infinity. We'll soon I'll talk about it a little bit more, hopefully. That becomes the source of Eir HaSever, the Achar HaTzimtzum Sever. Now there's another level high in himself it goes down. So it's not only that he's speaking now, but it goes down. It has a relationship to somebody else. Similar to what we said, speaking. That becomes the Moker. That what livnei atzimtzum, there is a way that he's thinking that he's brought it down in a place where there is possible something out of him. So I say now the few words, but I'm going to try to explain it a little bit. When he is in his infinity, he has the ability to think about somebody else, about the world. In other words, mitzad his infinity, he could even think about the world also. Not because he's finite. There's two ways how you could think about finite. Because you are finite, you have some kind of limitation. That's one way. Another way, because you're beyond infinity, therefore you're not limited to infinity, and you could think about finite. So the thinking about the finite is actually a manifestation of your greatness, that you're beyond infinity. You're with me? If not, it's nicht gefällt. We'll have to come from different angles to it. Okay, so he's saying, the last level, that the fact that the Eibishter revealed in himself that he could think about Eilames, about spheres, again, but Gilu Eila Atzme Ashayich Leilames. So that's why that is becomes the source that later, when you lose you take it out, you take away, make a tzimtzum orishan, you take away the absolute infinity, so remain the idea that he was thinking about. It's called a reshima. What he was thinking about. Even so, it's before the tzimtzum. It's only in himself alone. There is a sheresh because there's a relationship to something else. It's called shchina. Okay. I don't think it's quoting a mimer here, but even if it is, we just have to explain it. We have to we'll try to give examples from around, so it will have more like this and around. Then we'll come to the punch. We'll also have something. The machlekes in the Agoda, in Gemara, and the Brazil in the Agoda. The 10 makkos, every makkah was from 10 makkos. Then he said every makkah was from 4 makkos. As the Chamishi makkos, each one of the 50 makkos was from 4 makkos. Therefore, there was 200 makkos inside. I think Rabbi Kiva said every makkah was from 5 makkos. There was 250 makkos. So the Rabbi is asking a simple shayla. What is that? 50 makkos, 4 makkos, 5 makkos. I mean, just that numbers you're talking. What are you saying? Are we saying anything? Does it mean? Could mean anything to us? So the Rebbe explains an unbelievable idea. When you have a broken house, or a broken, I'm rephrasing, I'm not quoting the Rabbi word for word. Anything, something that's broken, something that's bad. Could be every brick himself is a good brick. But just the connection, the way it's put together was no good. What means? Could be something is bad. Could be the Egyptian are bad. But what is bad? The way they work, the way they're put together, the way they are bad. But if you take them apart in the 4 elements, like it says in Tanya, in Rama, that everything is made from fire, water, air, and earth. Chamish, right? Arba, you say this. If you take them apart to the 4 elements, each element is a fine element, a good element. It's not a rotten element, it's not a bad element, it's a good element. But where the combination didn't work out properly, so the bricks didn't work out good. So therefore the bricks is a bad brick. So then what you have to do, you have to break the brick, but you don't have to, once you break the brick back into the 4 elements, then you can bring them together. I'm not talking practically speaking, I'm talking conceptually speaking. Then you take, so then you got rid of the bad one, and then you put it together properly, so you have a good thing. But what do you do? Not what do you do, but what happens here? What do you could say also? If the elements are bad elements, you took it apart, fire separate, water separate, air separate, and earth separate, and each one is a rotten, bad. It is negative bad, and bad is not a good quality of element, if you want to call it. Now, the fact that you broke the bricks and you separate them to 4 elements didn't help you much, because the negativity is much deeper than just the final product. So the question is, the machlekes is here, Mitzrayim, that's not a machlekes. How deep was the badness? Was the badness, the final product was bad, but if you take apart them deeper, they are not bad. So then you have to destroy them. You also have to destroy only the final product, but you don't have to go and find a bomb that will destroy the elements also. Now, so that's the opinion that every makkah is from 4 makkahs. He's saying that in Mitzrayim, not only the Mitzrayim, but as a finished product was bad, but the elements, if you break them down to elements, still each element was bad. So therefore, each makkah had to be, each bomb had to have 4 bombs in a deeper quality. This 4, each one should destroy the element of that. Because if you're left with the 4 elements, no matter how you put it together, it still remains bad. Okay? So that is number 1. That's number 2. It says the final product and the element. Now there's a deeper question. What's happening with the Keach HaYuli? Something that Keach HaYuli is the potential of existence. It's deeper than the 4 elements. Is that bad also or not? You know what I'm saying? The Keach HaYuli is really much more refined idea. It's a potential. So the opinion says each makkah was from 4 makkahs. Says the Keach HaYuli of Mitzrayim was not bad. The opinion that said that every Keach, every idea of Mitzrayim, at the potential, the Keach HaYuli of Mitzrayim, of the 4 elements were also bad, that doesn't help you to destroying the 4 elements, because you go, if you destroy it properly, then you go back to Keach HaYuli. But if the Keach HaYuli is bad, no matter what, from the Keach HaYuli start making again 4 elements, 4 elements will be bad, and the final product will be bad. Therefore, you need to have a 5th makkah here, but this 5th makkah is like Yechida in Kedusha, this is Yechida in Klippet. After the element is bad, means I would say it means like the Yechida, Kelev Yechidosis, there's a similar, some idea to Yechida in Kedusha. There's a similar idea in Klippet, that it's a Yechidic Klippet. It's like it's in its essence is bad. What I'm saying is by Amalek, his essence is completely bad. Not going to help to destroy him, not going to help to destroy the 4 elements, because the energy is still, the potential, what the energy will call it, is still absolute bad. So it will come back together and come back in another form, because one's potential could come back in another form. It could come back in any form. And it will come back, because once you have a negative essence, he will come back to good to you, come back to you. Much of that you see, we're saying that halacha gavachas as Esav saying Yankin. Yeah, Rashi says it's a known halacha. So you would think if they ate us, So all of history should have been only one approach. That the going, killing him, it had plenty of that. But then we have a scenario, and we had plenty before probably, but more man. Assimilation. They come with love. And the shiksa doesn't even think that, she doesn't even know that she's doing it in order to hurt you. Now, when you have an essence of negativity, he's not limited how he has to come out. He can come out in niceness, he can come out in music, he can come out in every form, because he's, in a way, because he's bleak wool, he could put on any form he wants. But he has one agenda he has that he's negative. We call it in chassidus is the ego, there's yeshes, there's no nullification to the Eibishter. Therefore, the ego will come out in different, will come in a form of ego, come out in a form of humility, but the humility is just a deeper ego, deeper selfishness. So therefore, every makkah, so the opinion that says every makkah had to be from 5 makkahs, because we need to destroy also the essence, the potential, the yuli of Mitzrayim, we have to destroy that also. When you destroy that, it means, I would say, that means you're revealing the godliness of that already, because you destroyed it. The finest level of, then now you could come back with, it's not to destroy them, then you could come back with it and start forming it again, make a positive keach hayuli, right? From that energy that was bad before, and destroy them. Nothing could be destroyed completely. Everything remains. So even deeper than keach hayuli, come a positive yuli, then make a positive element, then from the element make a positive product. So Rabbi one time said by Fabring a very interesting idea, and I remember hearing it, and I think this could be connected to what we are talking about. Rabbi said a newspaper, negative newspaper, they write lashon hara, they write lies, fake news, they have an agenda, they're manipulating. What good? How could you make it good? So the Rebbe said, even when I remember the word is saying, and I think every word, but they burn the paper. What happens when you burn the paper? You have ashes. Now, when you have ashes, you can make from it new paper. I never knew about that, but that's what the Rebbe said. Once you have ashes from the paper, you can make new paper. Now, when you have new paper, you could write on it good things. You understand what I'm saying? The idea that you have to go, if it's not very bad, you could take the article, if it's a scientific article, and a relatively open-minded and okay, you could use it for Kedusha. But if it's negative, right, in a deeper level, and it's false completely, so you have to burn it. Okay, so let's come back. So the etzem, the essence of the light, means that where there is potential to be light. And the mitzal atzmus, we're not talking about atzmus now. Atzmus we cannot talk about in a certain way. So the etzem of the A means that there is a concept, it became the concept that he could be revealed. Maybe call it yecheles, the potential, the complete absolute ability that has yecheles. But there's no revelation whatsoever. So everything starts in the level of essence. Essence means, I would call it the way where it doesn't exist. Everything starts the existent, non-existent. You agree with me with that one? Every existence. Let me speak something about a person. If you ask a person that you have an offer for you for working in Shabbos, say no, that's not a good idea. If he's saying no, it's a problem. And I'll tell you a story. There was a school called Chanech Lanar in New York, a Lubavitcher school. It was for high school boys from homes who were either negligent or their parents couldn't hold them, whatever. It was a school that had 50 kids, whatever it had. 16, 17, a lot of stories about them. I was able to get involved. So one year, I heard from one of the teachers there was a lot of stealing. And they found out that the stealing is the inside job. So they came up with a brilliant idea. What's the brilliant idea? I'm thinking cynically a little bit. Brilliant. The next year, they put in the learning schedule, right? Was they learn the Hilchas Gneve. So they'll teach them how terrible Gneve is with halacha. Take a guess what happened that year. It increased. The minute you say no on something, it's really a problem. It has to be, you can't even say no, but it doesn't come in, you don't hear it. And by etzem could be even deeper than a no. I'm not sure, but I'm just giving you the idea that something starts. Let's take another example. If I ask you, is there a F-22 in your room now? A fighter jet F-22 in your room? So say no. But in a certain way, is there. Why are we talking about it? If you wouldn't, we cannot talk about something that doesn't exist. So there is the concept exists. The concept is the question of what level of the concept you're talking about. There's already a plan, or the look of it, you might have a picture of that, whatever. But we are talking that the essence of something doesn't exist. And this is a very big, I would say, very important in learning chassidus. And I don't know if science deals with that so much. How the real existence of something is the non-existence of the idea. The more it doesn't exist, the stronger it is. The proof for it is like a simple idea. You take something, an atom, yeah, you split something, split, and you can't split it anymore. When you split it, you move from matter to form. In other words, the matter stopping to exist, and you move over to energy. Energy is the definition, I would say, in a certain level, the non-existent of physical. And that's the real strength of the existence of the idea. And then you have to go even further. So everything starts before I thought about it. How come suddenly start thinking about it? The before thinking about it is already something there. Before I start to think about that, not about something else. So I'm not sure how deep when we are saying, could be that it goes even deeper than that. But I'm saying the etzem of air, the etzem of everything means it has no form whatsoever. It's just it is because it is, but it has no form whatsoever. And therefore it's completely indestructible. Now you have a worldly etzem and a physical etzem. And let's say that maybe called the energy of in it, what it is. Then you have in elikus, and not in nivroim. That's in nivroim. We are talking examples for nivroim. Then you could go to beire, but that's a much higher. Everything is a different scale completely. And that's what I think we spoke about. To go from one world to the other world have to be completely. We spoke about, I don't know. But a neshama has to go up higher to a higher level. She has to go to a river of fire. And that's not good enough. You are mamish fire, you burn completely your ashes. Not good enough. You have to go now the amud. I mean, the revelation about that even destroys that also. What is non-existent here completely, that's the lowest level of existence in a higher level. But that's when you arrive in the higher level, you're arriving in the lowest level of the higher level. And then you go higher and higher in that. Okay. That is the etzem oyer. What he calls it the etzem eira seichel, the etzem keach ha-seichel, but there's no seichel there. So the seichel is ayin. There's no seichel. There's only a keach of seichel. It's not something, a bunch of something, a keach of seichel. There's a keach that, but seichel for sure is not there. So that's ayin. Then you have, now I talk about it in the nimshel, by the Eibishter. Because he's a etzem, there's a revelation that there is absolutely nothing inside the Eibishter. The Eibishter is that etzem, and there's not shaykh, nothing could be beside him, and he was always, and you cannot ask how could it be always, because there's nothing there that was always, it's mamish and etzem. That revelation, that when that reveals itself, so you have the etzem, how is in the etzem, but there's no revelation. But imagine that you start thinking about the idea. You are the person that get that appreciation that the Rebbe is mamish and etzem, not something and nothing. It's a gilui la'atzmei. You start, it's already something because why something you thinking about this, or the concept exists, the thinking about it, the perception of that idea, of absolute being world. That's a gilui la'atzmei. That's a revelation to himself. Never to himself, and that does not allow anything, because that says that nothing could be. Then you're getting it a little bit. So I'm saying that's a gilui atzim is a gilui of the etzem, but the gilui atzim that there's no gilui, that there cannot be a gilui. As much as you're saying there's nothing, yeah, and even that gilui that's no good. Also, you could go infinitely say there's nothing, and whatever I'm saying is also not good enough. That's Gilui El Atzmei. And the Maila Adenket, to go higher and higher, denial of everything. I put you in a way disorder. In a way. A chassid came into Yechidus to the Alter Rebbe, I think the Alter Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek. And he said that he's not doing well, and he doesn't even care enough about it. That his problem, never mind that he's not doing well, but he doesn't even care enough about it. Then he tells the Rebbe, not only I don't care about it, I don't even care that I don't care about it. And he like less than 3, 4, 5 times until he fainted. That's called Hafshote in Hafshote. It's the same. It's Bligvul. No, it's that Bligvul says nothing about it. You insulted it, but saying that's Bligvul. Even that saying that's not saying anything, you say nothing, and you could go infinitely, and you'll never stop. That's why you cannot. It's Lamaila Adinket. You could have Hafshote for Hafshote. That's Gilui. I would say that's Gilui El Atzmei. Now comes another word. Maybe it's okay. I can believe with everything. But could I create a world with limitation? Mitzad my infinity, I could do it. I could do that also. So he's completely thinking in himself in the level of infinity of himself. Gilui El Atzmei. That is, he comes to a conclusion that doesn't have to go nothing. I say yes, something. As much. You could go as much as you want. So what is the matter now? It's a limitation. It's a manifestation of his infinity. It is not limited to infinity. It could be something. So it's a Gilui El Atzmei, a shaykh le'elamis. Why it's a shaykh le'elamis? Not because it's a shaykh, it's because it's already closer to the world. No, it's not closer to the world. I would say in a certain way, maybe it's further. But now could come out a world from it. If the recipient hears you talking about limitations, things, and he doesn't know where you're coming from, right? That's that symptom, symptom completely moved away the infinity. So remain the idea that he was talking about. We're talking about the world. It's at Bligvul, it's at higher than Bligvul, but with the left, you're talking about the world. So Gilui El Atzmei is talking to himself, Shaykh Le'elamis. So the pale mamish is thinking about, you could say that he's thinking of relating that could be a double mugvul. So it's already a lower level from that point from outside. But in the pneumius, could be even a higher level. So it's not even mugvul in bligvul, become even in Tagabola. But it's completely a Gilui El Atzmei, a shaykh le'elamis. So that's why it's Gilui El Atzmei is completely in himself. Is by him is made. There cannot be anything inside Eibishter. Not only cannot be, it's even bigger than that. That it cannot be, that even could be. It's not a yeride. Even so, they come in the idea of element, and that opened up the potential. There should be a world, and because that's the truth of the world. The truth of the world is as a manifestation of the Eibush that is beyond infinity. Therefore, there could be a world. But in Lifnat Simtum, so you hear that the whole purpose, the whole idea of the world is expressing the Eibush beyond infinity. But when you come after the Simtum, you move out the Bligvul, right? He doesn't hear. Then you have a mugbaldika world. But that's the truth of the world, that it's a likus, as we learned in Maimon before. That's where it's a likus.
Rabbi, just thinking back to the idea of the newspaper, with like the newspaper, you probably wouldn't have to burn it to erase what's on it. The burning it would show that the actual essence of the newspaper was bad.
Right. Okay, so it could be a level where it's not so deep, the writing is not so deep in the paper that you could erase it, like a pencil, you could erase easy. Or it could be so much in the paper engraved. I'm just trying to, I'm saying, when the whole page is full, and it's cannot erase it because it's mamish the ink like completely penetrating in a way that by erasing it, it's destroying it. Then you have no choice but to burn it. But could be you have a good point. Sometimes could be a level where you don't need. That's why I'm saying this. You don't need to burn it. Could just erase it because that means it's very clear that something on top of the paper. So it's impossible. But just bachkike, if it's engraved, then you have to. But if it's written in such a way that it's completely the ink is true and true, then you cannot. But you have a point. Yeah. Okay, I'm stopping it now.